A pilot's not going to learn in an airplane. Like, by the way, hey, Jason, you and I are flying. All right, I'm letting go now. This is your first time up. Like, go get it, man. That's not at all. You're learning in a simulated environment first, where you can learn how to be responsible.
The Business of Betting podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. 4 out of the top 5 U.S. operators personalize player experiences with Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/businessofbetting. And if you like what you see, you will get your first month free.
What is up, everybody? I am Jason Trost, the host of the Business of Betting podcast. It has been a long, hot summer, and I am back in London. And today we have a special guest, RJ Heller from BankRoll U, who is calling in from Colorado. It's 8 a.m. there, so give him a little bit of breathing space. He looks like he's not a morning person, but he might be. We'll see. And I have to say, I'm very jealous of his mustache. And if I could have that Burt Reynolds mustache, I totally would do the same. So welcome to the podcast, RJ.
Thank you, Jason. I think you could.
Are you a morning person or not?
I think you're selling me short. I think I look pretty good.
You look pretty good. Okay. Well, fantastic mustache. Is that Movember gone amok, or what's the story behind the mustache? I feel like every mustache has to have a good story.
Yeah, I think the interesting part was I was living in New York so I'm actually in Park City, Utah. So right on the other side is Mount Colorado. So real close. Yeah, but I was living in New York. I moved there in, I don't know, like 2016, 2017. And I was living in Brooklyn, and that was the time when mustaches were really popular in Brooklyn. So did that. And then by the time I moved to Utah, it was the uniqueness of it. Every white guy out here has a mustache and looks exactly like me. So I went from this kind of unique guy out there to just literally everyone else, and I'm out here in Park City. So
you're really big into groupthink, is what you're saying.
Well, that's what we want to do, is just get everyone in, everyone thinking together.
Right. And like a good groupthink guy, you're starting a betting startup just like everybody else. So
that's exactly right. You got to be a man of the people.
So tell me about BankRoll U. It's a relatively new company. Why don't you introduce it for the audience?
Yeah. So BankRoll U is a sports betting simulation platform. It's an education platform to help people become smarter and more responsible sports bettors. The way that it works is you enter and join our combine. So when you join the combine, you get 3 things. You get tuition points, you get a virtual bankroll, and you get the access to the combine itself. So our hope is that the first thing you'll do is check out our campus section, learn about how to bet smarter and safer. We have courses on there. We have playmaker picks, which are handicappers that people can tail. So just giving people access to learn about how to bet more responsibly and have kind of a place where they're not just thrown into a sports book with just money getting thrown at them and no direction and no way to think about what they're doing. So once you take those courses, you can choose to or choose not to. Then we have a live line simulator, so exact live lines that you're getting on any other traditional sports book. Your only goal you need to do is grow your entire bankroll by 35%. So rather than just hit big wins with like one game or a parlay that you have that exceeds that, you have 2 weeks to grow your entire bankroll by 35%. And if you do that, you're in the pro levels. And in the pro levels, you keep a portion of your winnings for every level you pass.
So it's funny money to start with. And then if you win enough, it converts into real money. Is that how it works?
Yeah, it's pretty close. So a lot of what we were built off of was we saw a lot of success in the SIBDA funded space for finance and trading. Are you familiar with any of that? Have you seen those before?
I've not, I mean, the concept, but I've never used any of those.
So from that, we saw that was just taking up a huge portion of the market and this kind of non-traditional way of investing. Why can't you do that for sports betting? So what we're doing in a nutshell is we're saying, hey, Jason, we'll give you $1,000. You pay us $50 for that. You bet that $1,000 like you normally would at a traditional sports book, making your picks. And you have 2 weeks to grow that $1,000 by 35%, so to $1,350. And if you do that, you pass the combine, and then you're in the pro levels. In the pro levels, you do that again. And the first time you pass, you keep 10% of that. You do it again, you keep 25. then you keep 50, and then eventually you're keeping 100% of the profits that you make, all off of that original $50 investment. You don't have to buy in. If you lose, you're out. But if you don't have to buy in for every time you pass level, you make more and more.
So what's the catch?
The catch is you might be a smarter better by the end of it. So what we have that's different for us is
No, I mean, what it sounds like you're giving free money, but am I missing a step here? Or you have to buy into this, right? So I guess most people wash out and lose. Is that kind of the business model?
I think a lot of people wash out and lose, and that's just kind of standard for betting. Like, house odds across any table game or sports book. So not everyone's winning every time, but we do give people the opportunity. Is you have a lot of gamblers and people out there that think they can do a lot more if they just had access to more capital. So what we're doing is we're giving them access to that. And it's not one-to-one. So that $1,000 that I gave you, $450, you're not making a bet keeping 100% of those winnings. But if you can show you do that over a long term, we'll give you 10%, then 25, then 50, then 100% of those total winnings back to you when you show that you can do it consistently. So if you can win over 2 weeks and show that, hey, I'm betting responsibly, I'm managing my unit size, I'm not doing crazy parlays, I'm not chasing my losses down, we're building those smart habits for people to be able to engage with the sportsbook more responsibly. And that's what teaches them to chip away and win rather than start to go on tilt and chase their losses all the way down. Does that help start paint the picture?
I feel like it's muddling a few different concepts here because I guess when you first pitched it, I had this idea that it's a paper trading software platform where basically people can paper trade and feel like that. But it seems like then you're trying to graduate people from paper trading into real trading. Are you trying to filter out the positive EV bettors and then surf on their betting history? Is that the model?
Right. Yeah. So we're not actually placing their bets in a separate sports book behind them. It's all within our simulated environment. So the way that we make money is with your entry into our program. So that example that
I pay the $50.
$50, right? You pay that in, and now you have live lines, you can live bet, you can do everything on our platform like you would at a traditional sports book. But we do have limits. We have max bets limits, and we have different rails and guidelines for people to show responsible betting. But if they can grow, so it's going to usually it takes about 16 to 20 bets to pass a level. So if you can place 16 to 20 picks responsibly all the way through, and you grow the entire bankroll from $1,000 to $1,350, which would be 35% increase or whatever your starting balance is, then you move on to the next level and you'll keep a percentage of those profits. So if you're keeping half of the 1,350's profits, it'd be $350. So it'd be half of 350. And then that's your money back in your pocket.
Interesting. Okay. So it's kind of not paper trading so much as hand holding to a kind of a sports book contest, I guess you might call it.
A little bit, yeah. So it's where we view BankRoll and like where it fits in the space is you can't go, 7 seconds or 14 seconds? I don't know how it is in UK, but in the US, like DraftKings, FanDuel, all those guys are everywhere. Like even in California, you're getting DraftKings ads and you can't even play it over there. So like people are so accustomed to this, and it's kind of like early internet, if you think like way back, where some people are really good and some people have no idea, but they're all getting exposed. So all these people who are just getting exposed to sports betting and want to dip their feet in, that's what sportsbooks are hoping. So it's like, hey, here's $1,000 free play on your sign up, go do it. And people are in, and now they're in the ocean with no guardrails, right? What we're creating is a space where they can learn before they go to a big sportsbook, or maybe they've gotten a little cold at a big sports book and they still want the action and the feeling. They can come play on BankRoll U. Because when you think about like pilots, anything in a high risk environment, a pilot's not going to learn in an airplane. Like, by the way, hey, Jason, you and I are flying. All right, I'm letting go now. This is your first time up. Like, go get it, man. That's not at all. You're learning in a simulated environment first, where you can learn how to be responsible. You can learn how to work the rudders. You can learn how to work thrust and the things like you would in a plane. Now you're doing that in a place where your max downside is only that $50, and you're able to play over a long term. You get the emotion, you learn how to stabilize that emotion, and you learn good betting, smart betting practices before you're in wide open range where you have someone like DraftKings with unlimited money to figure out how to get all that money out of you.
Got it. And what's the legal framework of which you're doing this under?
We're sweepstakes.
Okay, so none.
Well, we can operate in 45 states in the U.S.
Isn't that nice?
It is pretty nice.
Okay, so if it sounds like Scientology a little bit. Like the deeper I go, the more you let me touch or whatever. So if I'm like level 4 deacon, what is
Super deacon? Yeah,
how many levels do you have?
4. So we have P10, where you keep 10% of your winnings. That's the first one. And then these are all exactly the same each time. P25, where you did it once. If you do it again, you keep 25% of your winnings. And then you spend another 14 days, you go to, and then you're in P50, 50% of your winnings. And then P100 is you keep 100% of your winnings. And they stack on each other.
Okay, once you're P100 in BankRoll U, are you taking the other side of the bet, or are you placing a proxy bet with these people? Like, are you hedging out of the risk, or are you just YOLOing it?
We're not, because we're not hedging the other side of it. We're just supporting it directly from our account that we pay back to them. And also, if you think about it too, it's really no secret that as you progress, most of our winners are going to be in P10, P25, because that's just, you're on a heck of a hot streak if you're going all the way to P100. We have had people do it. So if you check out our website, I just did 2 interviews with 2 of our players that did really well. One's named Eli and one's Benicio. They're both on the site. Actually, the Benicio interview is really awesome because he's a younger kid who was learning, and he took us for $25,000 all in. And I mean, for him, it was really cool to see on the other side of like this thing that we built out, wanting to build responsible gambling practices, and also show people if you follow rules and don't go tilt, that you can actually win. And this kid's just like, dude, I've never seen this amount of money before. Like, helped out my mom. I think he bought a motorcycle or something, which I was like, all right, man, like, drive safe. And it's cool to give people access to things.
Let's blow all the winnings as fast as we can.
If we stop it, we give you the winnings. We can't help you with life advice afterwards.
When bettors go on winning streaks, it kind of makes me think of that movie Slumdog Millionaire, when he ends up getting, the 10 questions right and, wins $1 million on the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire India. And, the thing with sports betting is that, if you have enough people, you're going to have a distribution. If you have people flipping heads, somebody's going to get 10 heads in a row, and, somebody's going to get 10 tails in a row. So,
and that's really what we're banking on for all of this. And like, I think all the history of probability shows that that's how it's going to play out, especially for keeping our lines tight and up to date. Live betting becomes a little bit of a problem because that's something that can get delayed. But yeah, as long as you're on top, the distribution should be pretty representative.
Great. How did you get into the space?
So getting into the space, I worked with, so really blessed to have 2 great business partners in this. And as they were building out, it came from that same kind of funded trading concept of, hey, people really like the idea of having access to a bigger bankroll or bigger funded account. And they could do more if they just had the ability or someone gave them a shot. So that became huge in the futures trading space. We were looking at it from the sports betting space, like, why can't we do the same thing? And then my partner, Ty, when he came to me about having me join, my concept with it was, okay, just like you said in the very beginning, sports betting is such a saturated market, and there's so many small fly-by-night people that are jumping in overnight all the time, that how do you separate yourself and differentiate yourself in this? So the education platform was really important, a big part for me, because I didn't grow up huge into sports betting. I think psychology aside and like genetics aside, it just wasn't as big in my family. So for me, when I was like 22, I remember being in Vegas with a group of guys, and like we all went into a sports book, and everyone wants to be cool and knowing how to throw money around and do that. And like, I was ready to, but I was looking at just numbers and things in the wall, and I didn't have any idea. So that was, again, now it's a decade ago, but it was this concept of there's no way to help people understand what they're doing in this. So for me, the education side is, like I was saying earlier, now that everyone is being forced to walk into those sports books just by watching TV. So it's very easy to get into sports betting, especially with the accessibility, like on your phone. You can open up an app if you're in the right state. There's also sports betting adjacent things and apps where sports books aren't legal. Is if we can provide that secondary value, which is education, with the platform to help people, then we have something really special here. And that's kind of my entry to it, was push of that, and also driving and marketing it. And that's what we're doing right now.
People that have listened to this pod for a while will probably get annoyed about this, but my big thing is price. And like, where do you guys sit on price? Like, do you price comparison with sports books? Like, because to me, losing or winning in sports betting comes down to price more than bet selection.
So are you talking prices and access into the platform and what value someone's getting by joining, or?
No, I'm talking about the odds that you're placing your wager on.
Yeah, I mean, from that, like, there's odds providers. I think you can probably guess which ones we use based on, there's not a ton, and they're pretty representative of other books. So we follow a major sports book. So we're getting the same thing that you would at one of the big guys. It's 1-to-1.
But I guess I'm more, what about the education piece? Because to me, that's what's missing from the market. That's why everybody loses money, because the average VIG in sports betting is about 10%. And that, to me, is the piece that people do need to be educated about. Are you addressing that at all, or are you kind of sidestepping that?
And that's perfect. And I understand, and at your company, it's what you're doing, cutting that big down to what, half a point, or?
Trying to, yeah.
Which now we're getting into this whole prediction markets and like alternative ways of betting, and that, like we talked about a little bit before we jumped on here, in the US, like, we'll see which direction that goes. I'm not really sure. I think also the lobbying arm in the US, I don't count out DraftKings or FanDuel or some of those guys to push money around to keep sports books around. I don't know how that's going to play out, but yeah, like groups, Novig and things like that, literally it's in the name. But from us is, we have in our campus section things so people understand that. So when I was talking in the beginning, our education side is, we have access to our campus, which is 3 sets of courses that have about 10 lessons each, for people who are better at learning in a classroom style environment, which isn't everybody, but you can go over things like that and how to measure and accommodate for big, and make sure your -110 is, you understand what you're doing there. I think that's a big part too, is like when I was talking about me being 22 walking into that sports book and like numbers, lines, like by a point, like not knowing what that means, that's where people get caught not wanting to ask questions. So they're just placing it, then they lose. So the way that you lose is by spending money. So hopefully we can give them a way to lose with limited downside before they're just getting eaten alive.
Well, you just laid out the trick to winning in sports betting, which is not to play.
That's the big part. It's fun. Yeah.
It is fun. But, I've been doing sports betting for, 18 years now, and I still don't know what those wall of numbers mean when you walk into it. Those casinos is pretty intimidating. So you said you lived in Park City. I've been there once, and I thought it was fantastic. What's it like being an entrepreneur based there? Are you remote, or do you have people in Park City? What's it like working out of Park City?
Well, for me, like I said, I spent 7 or so years in New York. Before that, I was in DC for about 3 years working some federal stuff and things like that. But it's a nice change of pace from what is like Manhattan, where I was living for a long time, Manhattan and Brooklyn. So it's like, it's much healthier. So when you're not working, you're up in the mountains, or you're skiing and running and doing things like that, which is, for me, really cool. But as far as like where today, I think it even precedes COVID a lot. Like, you don't need to be around the rest of your employees, and we're a pretty small team. I'm also like, for me and my other founder, Ty, is we worked together at a previous company together. So like the group, you're kind of at that, hey, 10 years of working with people. Now you can cherry pick the really good ones and pull them on to your team. So we've been blessed enough to be able to do that. So I don't need to be around these guys as much, because you trust them on what they're working on and doing, and everyone can kind of work independently and come together. And before this, I was running sales teams of like 20 people, and that you have to be in person, you have to be motivating and just be a character for them all the time. The in-person energy is big. With where we're at now, it's like you're doing your stuff, I'm doing my stuff, check-ins, that. So being able to be remote is pretty nice.
Is anybody else in Park City, or are you the only one there?
I'm the only one in Park City. We have 2 people in Chicago, 2 people in Arizona. We have a pretty big team of contractors and stuff that we use for different capacity. A lot of engineering work kind of comes from there.
And then do you have to travel a lot, or not really? You just do everything remote?
We end up seeing each other as a team 3-4 times a year. So I guess you could say it's quarterly, but like it's not on that schedule. It's just by happenstance that people are in the same area. And also when you think about the way the states align is like Illinois is a little bit over, but like Arizona to Utah isn't that big of a jump. It's different from like I grew up in California. So it's like flying home from New York, that was a full travel day to get up to JFK, then over to SFO, then out of the Bay Area. It's like that becomes 12 hours. So that becomes really hard. But yeah, for us, like we end up seeing each other pretty regularly, a lot of trust and understanding of what people are doing and good skill set too.
I think I'm about, I don't know, 10, 12 years older than you. That way of working still scares the shit out of me. I still have that kind of 5 days
But not being around people.
not being next to people. Yeah, especially as a founder, especially in an early stage companies, because so much of it's culture, getting the product right. Like early Smarkers was me sitting next to people, very closely and working with them very closely on the product. And like, I like, it blows my mind that being remote over Zoom is a good enough facsimile of that. And I know a lot of companies are doing it your way, but it's just like, I don't get it as maybe the old school guy here.
No, I think that's a great call out. And back when I was running sales teams, I 1000% agree with you. And also, how many people do you have on your team at Smarkets? Like total? You have 100, right? So that's a whole different level of scale on like management style and how you do things. If you have 6 or so people that are really good, 6 or so you can let run and trust. Once you hit, in my experience, well, I mean, in the B2B world, which is also very interesting with this, is because I get that world really well. This new B2C world is I'm learning on the fly very aggressively, and it's so different and so exactly the same at the same time. So that's really interesting for me. But what I've found is like as you're building out teams, you can really get up to about 5 to 7 without needing another manager in the middle. And you don't want to build out this kind of pyramid structure, but like managing 20 individuals all at once is really, really hard. And the only way you can do that is having them all in the room, understanding by looking at me, the way I move around the office. How am I working? Like, when am I talking? When am I not talking? So people can learn through proximity and understand the culture that you're talking about. With 100 people, you have to do that. Like, there's just no way around it. Because then you get that Pareto 80-20 rule where 80% of your guys are okay, 20% are really, really good. And those 80% need something to latch on and look to. Otherwise, if they're sitting at home, they're getting tired. And it's not their fault. It's just the way that people are wired.
But what about those things where it's like some guy wants to move the button here and the other guy wants to move it there? And, like those are the things like when you're sitting, even when you're 5 people, like starting the website, if you're right next to each other, you can just hash it out. Otherwise, this idea of like scheduling a meeting, it kind of, there's a ceremony and cost overhead to scheduling a meeting that when you're in person, you don't mind just swinging by somebody's desk to like hash something out. So I feel like I'm sure there's ways around it. And companies like you are being very successful being fully remote. It's just it explodes my brain.
Yeah. And I think with people who haven't worked together for 10 years prior, because Ty, my closest partner in this, like we worked at our previous company for about a decade together. So like, and I officiated his wedding. We're really close. So the amount of times that we're on 3 to 4 second phone calls throughout the day that are just bang, bang and understanding how each other works. That's also like you get the communication very quickly. Understanding who your partners are huge. And when you hire on someone new, so like if you were to come and we were to start working together long term, like you would, and I'd be calling you at 4 a.m, be like, well, first off, we got to get our schedule aligned. Like, so I know I can call Ty at 6 a.m. and we're both going to be up and we're both going to be operating. And I also know like he's got a newborn that there's now times that are more, I wouldn't say off limits, but I'm just not going to get the focus from him that I need. So it's really comes to learning. It's just like, it's kind of people talk about business partners, like you're joining a business partner, also like understand their wife, understand their kids, like you're in bed with these people. And we have a small, tight knit group that we're there. We are looking at, as we do build out, like we'll probably build the office out of Chicago and things like that, just because it's a little bit bigger. You're not going to find the talent stuff out here in Park City as much. And then that will involve more. And I think now you're just talking about scale of a business.
Awesome. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I feel like I'm here right now. Like this is a pretty incredible spot that like after putting the time in at our last company, pushing that the way that we did, now we're in something where I'm in a state that allows me to be outside a lot and also working on something that allows your creativity and the stuff that you want to see happen. Like just be able to do it with a team that also allows you to do it is really cool. So we talk about the difference between B2B and B2C. B2B, it's like, okay, you're Adobe. I need to get into targeting you and get this partnership. There's like a specific way to do that that's been talked about 1,000 times. Get on LinkedIn, you can figure it out. B2C, it's like, who are our guys from Discord? What do they like? What do they care about? Let's run this campaign that we had an idea overnight. Boom, blast out. Oh, we're not getting much feedback on that. All right, kill it. Next to the new one. So it's like you can get super creative, and it's also so much less polished, so much less buttoned up, and the authenticity and genuineness is, I think, what people want to see. So for me, that's really cool. That's what it's like. If I run this the way I want to run it, I think other people are going to be attracted to and gravitate towards that, and it's just authentic.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for stopping by. I'm very jealous of your mustache, and I'm very jealous that you live in Park City. It sounds like an amazing place to live.
Well, come visit. Winter's coming, man.
I'd love to. Winter's coming. Yeah. It's all too soon. The leaves are already starting to fall off in London. It's the end of August, and it's crazy.
Oh, just up here, I was noticing some of the trees are starting to get that like burnt orange and that was at the end of July. I started noticing it's like we had such a dry July that it was, I don't know, weather's crazy.
Yeah, weather's crazy. All right. Well, good luck with BankRoll U and all the best.
Cool. Thanks, Jason.
The Business of Betting podcast is presented by Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. 4 out of the top 5 U.S. operators personalize player experiences with Optimove, the #1 CRM marketing solution for the iGaming industry. Learn more about Optimove by requesting a demo at optimove.com/businessofbetting. And if you like what you see, you will get your first month free.